Aspire to a clean career, leaving no shame for descendants. Hello everyone. Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Case Stories, Cases Judged by Bao Gong. Today, I'm going to bring you a story called The Forgotten Handkerchief. In Qingyang County, Qizhou, there was a wealthy man named Zhao Kong, who was extremely rich. Zhao Kong had a son, Zhao Jiebin, who often relied on his family's wealth, living a life of extravagant indulgence. He spent his days immersed in gambling, lust, and music, partying all night long. One day, Zhao Jiebin, accompanied by his servant, went for a leisurely stroll to the southern village. On the way, he happened to see two young women, about 16 years old. They were dressed in simple clothes with light makeup, and their beauty was so pure and elegant that it made Zhao Jiebin's heart skip a beat. He couldn't take his eyes off them and was immediately enchanted. He asked his servant, "Who are these two young ladies?" The servant replied, "They are the wife and sister of Qiu Si, who lives behind the mountain. Qiu Si went away to do business a few years ago and hasn't returned. These two women often visit the temple to pray and seek omens." Zhao Jiebin commanded, "Go and tell them that if they ever lack silver or rice, they should feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to help." The servant responded, "I've heard that their family is quite wealthy. Even if we don't offer them gold or silver, they would still receive some assistance from their own family, so they probably don't need our help." That night, Zhao Jiebin couldn't sleep, his mind consumed by the images of the two women. The next morning, after breakfast, he took a silver ingot weighing about 10 taels and went straight to the Qiu family with the intention of seducing the two women. However, to his surprise, the two women were fierce in character. Not only did they scold him sharply, but they also called for the neighbors to come. Zhao Jiebin, realizing his plans had failed, left in anger. Still unable to think of a solution, he invited his friends, Li Hualong and Sun Bibao, to his home to drink and chat. After a few drinks, the two friends asked, "Brother, you invited us here today. What is it you want from us?" Zhao Jiebin replied, "I'm deeply frustrated by today's events, so I asked you two to come and help me come up with a plan." The two friends asked, "What happened that's got you so upset?" Zhao Jiebin answered, "Yesterday, while I was out for a walk, I happened upon Qiu Si's wife and sister. These two girls are simply the most beautiful women I've ever seen. This morning, I took silver to their home, intending to get close to them. But to my surprise, they greeted me with harsh words and made me feel utterly embarrassed." The two friends laughed and said, "This is simple. All we need to do is create a distraction." Zhao Jiebin eagerly asked, "What do you have in mind? Please, tell me your plan." They discussed for a moment and then said, "Tonight, around the third watch, one of us can make noise behind Qiu's house to draw the attention of their servants. The other two can sneak into the house, kidnap the two women, and hide them in a cave in the mountain. Once they're trapped, they won't be able to escape and will be at your mercy. What's so difficult about that?" Zhao Jiebin was overjoyed and praised the plan as brilliant. That night, the three men drank and chatted until midnight. Seeing that all the neighbors had gone to sleep, they quietly slipped out of the house. They went their separate ways. One went to shout behind the mountain, while the other two rushed into the Chiu household. The servants heard the noise and got up to check, only to find that intruders had entered. They were quickly bound and thrown aside, their mouths gagged to keep them quiet. The two men then made their way to the inner room and captured Chiu Si's wife, Zheng. However, Chiu Si's sister had returned home earlier that evening, as her husband, Xu Zhao, had come to fetch her. The two men took Zheng into a cave in the mountains and kept her there until dawn. Afterward, Zhao Jiabin, Li Hualong, and Sun Bibao each went their separate ways. Unfortunately, Zhao Jiabin accidentally left behind a handkerchief at the scene. The next morning, the neighbors discovered that Chiu's house had been robbed and that Zheng had been taken. They rushed over to investigate, untied the servants, and immediately went to inform Chiu Si's sister. Upon hearing the news, Xu Zhao and his wife hurried to the Chiu family's home to search for Zheng, but despite searching the surrounding area, they found no trace of her. As they reached the vicinity of the mountain cave, they vaguely heard cries for help. The three of them followed the sound and finally discovered Zheng. She was in a pitiful state, her clothes torn and disheveled, unable to stand. Xu Zhao carried her back to his house, and his mother gave her some soup. Slowly, Zheng regained her strength and was able to speak, though weakly. Xu Zhao's mother asked, "How did you end up like this?" At first, Zheng was too ashamed to speak, but after repeated questioning, she finally said, "Last night, two men broke into my house. I thought they were thieves, so I tried to run away. But before I could get dressed, they caught me. They dragged me into the mountains, and then a third man arrived. In the end, all three of them raped me." Xu Zhao's mother asked, "Do you recognize any of these men?" Zheng replied, "It was too dark for me to see clearly." At that moment, Xu Zhao took out a white handkerchief he had found during the search. Unfolding it, he saw that it was embroidered with the name Jiabin, clearly identifying the culprit as Zhao Jiabin, that notorious libertine. Upon hearing this, Chiu Si's sister, Xu Zhao's wife, suddenly remembered and said to her husband, "I just recalled. Yesterday morning, Zhao Jiabin came to my wife's sister-in-law's house with a piece of silver, hoping to get close to her. But I scolded him and forced him to leave. I think he must have held a grudge, and that's why, last night, he teamed up with others to kidnap my sister-in-law and rape her. I was lucky you came to pick me up last night, or else I would have been in the same danger." Xu Zhao, enraged upon hearing this, immediately prepared a legal document and took Zheng to the government office to file a complaint with Gong. The petition read, "This lawsuit is filed due to the assault and rape of Zheng. The lecherous Zhao Jiabin, relying on his wealth, has shamelessly oppressed the people of the village. In his earlier years, he seized land, swapping barren plots for fertile ones, and even the weeds on the barren land were only enough to feed the horses for half a day. He also forced farmers to supply grain, swapping 100 or more pounds of grain for a whole pig, which was not even enough to feed one family. The common folk have suffered and wept, yet they are also subjected to his lashings. Beautiful women are especially unable to escape his grasp, enduring great humiliation. Zhao Jiabin, taking advantage of his wealth, has become lawless and committed evil deeds. Recently, my brother-in-law, Chiu Si, was away, Zhao Jiabin openly attempted to seduce Zheng with silver, but she, maintaining her chastity, refused him and had the neighbors drive him away. But Zhao Jiabin, nursing a grudge, teamed up with his cronies, armed with weapons, and broke into the Qiu household in the dead of night. They kidnapped Zheng and took her to a cave in the mountains, where they cruelly raped her until she was on the verge of death. The next morning, my wife and I, upon hearing of this, went into the mountains to search, and found Zheng in a life-threatening state. I also found a handkerchief beside her, embroidered with the name Jiabin, which serves as the most compelling evidence. This incident has had an extremely negative impact. From now on, I fear no one will dare to go out at night, the elderly and children won't even dare stay alone at home, and women will be afraid to leave the house. As darkness falls, there will be silence, no barking dogs, no crying babies, due to fear. I am filing this complaint not just for my family but also for the neighbors, asking you, Bao Gong, to enforce the law impartially, punish the villain, and restore peace to our village. When Bao Gong received the petition, he immediately summoned the people involved in the case, as well as the neighboring villagers, to the court for questioning. He began by asking the neighbor on the right side of the Qiu family, Xiao Xing, your house is the closest to the Qiu family. Do you know anything about this incident? Xiao Xing replied. This happened at night, and I wasn't aware at the time. It was only early the next morning when I got up that I heard the strange cries of the Qiu family servant. So, I gathered a group of people and rushed over to their house. We found the servant tied up on the ground, and his mouth was covered. We quickly freed the servant and sent someone to inform Qiu Si's sister about what had happened. Later, I heard that Xu Zhao and his wife had found Zheng in the cave in the mountains. She was reportedly unable to move, and there was a handkerchief belonging to Zhao Jiabin found nearby. But as for the other details, I really don't know anything and can't speak recklessly. Bao Gong then turned to Zhao Jiabin, asking, this handkerchief has your name embroidered on it. How do you explain that? Zhao Jiabin tried to defend himself, saying, I lost that handkerchief 3 days ago on the road. I've never been to the mountains. And anyway, how could I have carried out such an act all on my own? Someone must be framing me because of some old grudge. Xu Zhao countered. That day, you clearly came with silver to seduce my sister-in-law. If my wife and sister-in-law hadn't scolded you, you wouldn't have left. It must have been you who kidnapped her that night. If you didn't, why was there no money missing from the house? And this handkerchief is solid evidence. If this were the work of common bandits, they would have taken the money, not just assault the woman. I beg you, Bao Gong, to use severe punishment on this villain and deliver justice for us. Bao Gong, having heard all the statements and examined the evidence, decided to have Zhao Jiabin flogged with 20 strokes to force him to confess. However, Zhao Jiabin continued to stubbornly deny everything and refused to admit guilt. As there was no new evidence, Bao Gong ordered that both the plaintiff and the defendant be detained. He also made a public announcement about the case. Privately, he told the jailer, you must keep a close watch on Zhao Jiabin. If anyone comes to visit him, make sure they don't meet. Bring that person to me immediately, and I will reward you. But if you accept a bribe or carelessly allow them to meet, you will be flogged 60 times for dereliction of duty, and I will have you dismissed without question. The jailer responded respectfully. I will not slack off, and I will follow your orders to the letter. With that, Gong retired from the court, and the jailer returned to his post to keep watch. Soon after, 2 men came to the jail, requesting to see Zhao Jiabin. The jailer opened the gates, and several officers rushed out to capture them, bringing the 2 men before Gong. Without hesitation, Gong resumed the trial. The jailer reported, I've just apprehended 2 men, both of whom came to visit Zhao Jiabin. Gong asked their names and then sternly scolded. You two, you're the ones who defiled Zheng. Confess your crimes now. Zhao Jiabin has already confessed your involvement to me. I was just about to send the constables to capture you, but you've walked right into my hands. The 2 men turned pale, too afraid to look Gong in the eye. One of them, Li Hualong, tried to defend himself. My lord, you must be wise. I have nothing to do with this. It's Zhao Jiabin who's falsely accusing me. Gong's voice grew harsh. Zhao Jiabin has already made it clear. How could he have carried out such a vile act alone? If you two didn't assist him, he couldn't have done it. Stop lying and tell the truth. Li Hualong continued to argue, this was all Zhao Jiabin's doing. Why would he falsely accuse us? Gong could see they were evading the truth, so he ordered the officers to give each of them 20 strokes with the heavy stick. However, they still refused to confess. Seeing that they remained obstinate, Gong had them locked up in a far-off corridor, away from the main hall. He then summoned Zhao Jiabin again. Zhao Jiabin was brought in, and upon seeing Li Hualong and Sun Bibao locked up, his heart sank. Gong scolded. Zhao Jiabin, you vile villain. The case of your assault on Zheng is clear. The 2 men in the corridor are your accomplices, and they have confessed that you led them into this crime. With all the evidence against you, do you still intend to deny it? Realizing the situation was hopeless, Zhao Jiabin hesitated but, fearing the punishment, finally confessed. That day, I shouldn't have entered the Chiu house and thrown silver to seduce her. After being scolded and humiliated, I held a grudge. I called Li Hualong and Sun Bibao to discuss what to do. But the plan was thought up by Li Hualong. I beg for your mercy and a lighter sentence. Gong immediately summoned Li Hualong and Sun Bibao back and thundered. You two falsely claimed to be innocent earlier. Now that Zhao Jiabin has confessed everything, with clear evidence against you, why not confess too? The 3 of them exchanged glances, realizing they could no longer deny the truth. They knelt and confessed their crimes, signing statements. In the end, Gong ruled. Zhao Jiabin, a reckless and debauched man, used his wealth to live without morals, breaking the law and causing harm to the village. Together with his accomplices, Li Hualong and Sun Bibao, they kidnapped and raped a virtuous woman. These 2 men, friends of Zhao Jiabin, not only failed to stop him, but also assisted him in carrying out the crime, corrupting society and disrupting public order. Their actions have gravely harmed the peace of the community. Such heinous deeds must be met with the severest punishment. The 3 of you, Zhao Jiabin, Li Hualong, and Sun Bibao, are hereby sentenced to death, as a warning to others. After the judgment, Bao Gong ordered the constables to escort the 3 men out of the hall. They would be executed at a later date. Alright. Today's case story, The Forgotten Handkerchief, concludes here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments and share with others. See you again in the next issue.